Hello. I just need a minute. Hello. So just sit back and relax. I'm in the middle of typing something. I thought there was going to be online maintenance today, and yes, it didn't go through. So I just continued working. Just give me a minute. Today, not really much. Just pretty much going over what you already handed in Module 13. And if you handed anything in now, I can go over that as well. But some people still didn't get stuff in, and that's not good. So pretty much, I'm just going to go through the critiques of what I did online, maybe go a little bit further. Let's see. So we have Module 3. I'll go through some of these, and then Nina, you gave me 14, so I'll go through yours in 14. Alright. So, I mean, this is what I have so far, and pretty much what I'm going to talk about today is what you need for the final. Because it just says post presentation, but I want to see everything. And a lot of stuff is going to be based on stuff we talked about, what you need to improve. If you want to just leave it as is, go with the grade you have. For those who got stuff in, I don't think anyone's in the danger of super failing, so that's good. Just need to update a few things on your work, and then you should be okay. Alright. So I'm in game 201. I just want to see if anyone posted anything new. Oh, that's not game 201. Yeah, so this caught me off guard. 10:35 came up really quick, so it kind of... I was in the middle of something. Alright, so we're going to look with this flat lighting, but if you are going to lighting route, you could use all lights, like if you pop a light in there. But I'm going to talk about what I expect. So, someone's here watching, or maybe it's just counting me as being here. Alright, so we have, this is what I wrote. This is what I want. Alright, so all this stuff that I put in the please read in addition to presentation sheet, I want to see your Maya and texture files. So that includes everything up here. Right here. Alright, the reason this is here because I was going to look at presentation sheets and try to judge everything based on those. However, I want to see your files. Now, some things are a little different. Remember, I don't mind, like it says 12 total maps, but you can go a little higher if you need to, maybe 15 at the most, depending what you're doing. And we're going with 512. You could do 256 if it calls for it, like if it's in a 256 space. Like this prop right here could use its own 256 map. However, if you can combine maps, that's cool too. Like this can get shared with like this. Alright. So I'm going over all this stuff. So the first thing you want to do is model. Check the modeling. And let's hide the cameras. So show cameras. So Darby, when you watch this, delete all this. And then we'll save a backup scene and then delete all this. So you can delete all that. And then you're going to go through, if you want the best grade out there, make sure you go through your cleanup and make sure if there's any issues, which, you know, should have been figured out earlier, but sometimes you might fix something or change something. So faces with more than 4 sides and faces with 0 geometry area. So go through that and it'll look like you're good. All right. The next thing is EVs and how you approach them. Now I know you had some issues with EVs. Like here, you're still, I don't think you changed this yet. Now this is up to you. Do you want to go back and fine tune this? You're squeezing all this stuff on a 512 map, and you're going to lose resolution. Oh, by the way, back to modeling. I mentioned to clean the ceiling too. But here's another issue where you're just repeating the texture anyway in here without any variety. Why not just make a tiling texture like this and just take the ceiling and tile it? So if this, what do we say, 512, 256, 512. So a 2x2 is a 512. So this would be maybe 1024, but we can't get a 1024 map in the scene because we're not, remember I said only 512, so if you want to do it tiling, you could do this. So if this is 512, this would be about 1024. So that means just redoing your texture a little bit to make it tile, but that's how you would approach these. And then this one, so say you have this plank here, and we're going to do a mesh separate. So this, what you would do is we'll make a tileable wood plank texture, which looks like you just kind of brush paint on here and call it a day, which I would have got a texture. Or if you are painting it, paint it naturally like wood, but it looks like you're using all photo work. So if you're using all photo work, then you want to make sure this is photo. You want to just be consistent. Here I'm going to hold D and V. D is in dog, V is in Victor, and I'm going to snap that there, and then snap, hold X to there, just to show you. And then here, this is about 1024 across, however, we're only using 512 total. So this would be about maybe that size. Alright, just tiling. And if you make this a tiling texture, you can throw all your boards on top in this thing. And then you can like take this board, so say you have this one, and this would scale up, but you can move this anywhere in here just so there's some variety to it. So this whole map, 512 map, would be a wood board and you tile. So that's what I was kind of looking at. And here I still, again, this is why I ask people, do you watch the streams? I just want to make sure because I talk about things and I don't see updates. So when I ask, it's more of, are you watching them? Because I mentioned something and it's not fixed. So that's why I'm going to ask you, Darby, are you watching these? Because I mentioned to go in, you're plugging your whole room on this 512 map, and you're losing so much resolution, like it's blurry. It might not look it, but if you, like here, I mean, it is blurry, but in comparison to others, maybe it's not so much, but you are getting some blurriness on the crates. All right, this is all because of UVs and textile density. So the size of the room, like this wall right here, would probably be about, you know, this big. Actually, it looks kind of cool now. So you got to think, like if this shell, I think it's that one, the floor. Okay. So if this is about a 512 area, this little section here, I'll just say that these four faces, which is right, I believe here. I mean, this stuff we talked about before. I'm going to put that over here. I kind of like just snapping to the grid so I see the size. So if this, so we'll just say these area, this right here is a 512, which is right there. So that would mean it's about right there is the size of this. And if you turn on the checker, you'll see now that the floor and the ceiling are almost the same. What is it? The ceiling. Because I did that, and the textile density are the same now. And the walls, almost, they're close. I just got to scale them up a little bit more. And the board should be the same too. Just the way I scaled them up beyond that 0 to 1 space. Using kind of the meter thing as a guide. So that's UVs and textures. That's the other thing I'm grading. Alright, who's here? Hello. Alright, next would be scene cleanup. This includes modeling, but it's also going in the outliner and getting rid of all these empty folders. And sometimes you might see this, like you'll have the shape nodes on, which is like it adds an additional input here. You can just take shapes off if that's on, and then just remove these empty folders. Delete the history first, just in case you have any connections. See, I had a connection there, a transform node, which means, oh, when I separated the boards, it created these transform nodes. So I want to delete the history. And then you're going to go in and name the stuff. Okay, so that's another thing. And make sure you get a floor in here covering it, because otherwise I don't want to see Maya's grid. And you might want to consider, like, even if you duplicate, like, I don't even care if you take some of these faces. So let's take these faces and we'll duplicate them. So edit mesh, no, edit mesh, duplicate. You take those faces and then you can, oh, it looks like you have a floor. I'm going to delete that. And let's just grab those faces there, and you can just pop that in there. Or, I mean, whatever you use, you can grab something else. This got a little wonky. But maybe do something like that. But then you're going to have to maybe put an image plane in the back. Like, it could just be a black surface shader. Like, put a polyplane back here with the surface shader on it that's black. Remember, surface shaders don't respond to lighting and shading. And then you can hide Maya's background scene there. But here, I would just kind of build the floor out. Maybe some grass poking through would be cool. But here, like, I'm already using that map. You don't have to make a new map anymore. You don't have to make new UVs. They're already set. Maybe scale it out. You'll lose a little bit of texture density if you scale that. So you have to go in your UV editor. And all you have to do is just take these shells. And what did I do? Did I scale that? So that would have to be scaled. Alright. Alright, so that's the next scene. Scene cleanup, and we're also going into the hypershade. And we're going to go through our textures. See, that's why I say, are you watching the streams? Because I mentioned several times to go in and label these. So that would be any material, be M underscore, I don't know what this is, beams. Okay, so that would be that. Beams. Okay, and then you do that for each material. You don't have to name the particle cloud, the shader, or the Lambert one. But everything else should be named. And the blend should be a Lambert. The textures too. You have file 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. So that should be T underscore, floor. Darby, just hear me out. Your grade will improve a lot just by doing this cleanup. That's a part of your grade. You could take 5 minutes to do this, and you're probably already a couple points higher. So hopefully you watch the stream and get this. Even naming this stuff, a couple points higher. That's all you have to do. Just go and name. In fact, I'm going to start tagging people. Our first line in the stream. Alright. Who's next? Oh wait, I gotta make sure. The lighting. Okay, lighting. You could do the light maps. You could do the vertex baking. That's really confusing. And even 2018, they've changed some things. There's bugs. I don't know. There's something going on in here. So I don't mind just regular lighting. Excuse me, I'm taking a sip of coffee. Your scene's pretty easy. You only have one light source that you really need to worry about. But the thing about adding lights in a Maya camera view is you're only going to add so many before it starts ignoring the lights and the shadows. So either use, like Megan, you have an arcade. Use a lot of emissive maps for incandescence. I can show you that. But when it comes to simple scenes like this, all you need to do, Darby, is grab a point light. And we'll put it here. Then we're going to hit 7 on the keyboard. Okay, and that should light the scene. Alright, now right now this is pretty intense. Now, I think in Maya 2018 they allowed point lights to have shadows. So that's pretty cool. And let's see. Ray trace is on by default, but you can use depth. You only can choose one. And let's increase the intensity. Actually, decrease. Where are my shadows? Oh, lighting, shadows. You gotta turn that on. There you go. Okay. Now, if you're not using light maps, you can easily come in with a shadow color and just change that. However, this is, you got to think, this is not really opacity. I mean, it is, but it's actually changing the color. So if you did make a light map, this is the color of your shadows. You would have to go in Photoshop and kind of adjust it. Or in the layer texture, you just take the alpha down if you want to see transparency. So you don't want it completely black like this. That's not really true unless the light source is really strong. You want to see a little bit of the textures poking through, especially you want to see all your work. The other thing I might do is change the color. So let's go to a yellowish light, but not so yellow. Bulb color. And there is color temperature. You can do color temperatures online. You can see what is the color temperature of a light bulb. Like really high, which doesn't make sense, but high temperatures are cooler and lower temperatures are warmer. All right. We don't have to worry about color temperature though in this class. Okay, so maybe that could be a cool shadow already. Look at that. That's already really nice. And you don't want to put that in the light because then that'll happen. And you don't want to put it up here. You want to put it where the light source looks like it's coming from. The other thing, decay rate. I didn't really talk about this in the module content or the demos, but you could set this to linear. And every time you increase the decay rate or go down, you have to increase the intensity. So right now, it's falling off at a linear decay. So there is a fall off. So which means if I put this higher, like 10, it's going to start fading out around 10 units out. All right. So that could be cool. You could do a linear. But true to life is quadratic. And that's what most game engines use, quadratic lighting. And then here, you got to set it really high. So even if I go like 10,000, it's still pretty dim with quadratic. Now, I never seen anyone use cubic. But if you go cubic, I mean, look at, it falls off immediately. And it really brightens up that area. But the best true to life is quadratic decay. And then you come in here and say, well, maybe 10,000 is good. But, you know, you want to show off your work. So maybe 20,000. Maybe let's go 50. That could be cool. That looks cabin-ish. Right there, Darby, you improve your grade. The lighting looks great. I don't need light maps. That's just an option if you want to understand it. I don't mind this. However, when you're done and you do your presentation sheet, just take your show lights off. So that's not in the camera viewport, and hit Q so you don't hit the so you don't get the manipulator showing either. You could add some bounce light in areas, but it'd be really subtle. In fact, you probably don't need it as long as you take the shadow color up a little bit. I mean, there is some black here, but I'm not too worried about that. You just want to show off your scene a little bit. You don't make it too bright, don't make it too dark. I think right around 50,000, 55,000 was great. That looks cool now, huh? Now you get in there and make a presentation sheet. And even though your UVs and textures are blurry, the lighting is helping. The lighting helps. Here's a cool little trick you could use for this thing. Okay, I'm going to take a screen grab, go into Photoshop. Not Illustrator, let's go Photoshop. Alright, and here, let's paste. On the texture sheet, the texture map, just go in, and you could use the burn tool, or dodge tool, to add some metal. So Nina, if you're watching, this is what I said to do for the sword. You could add, I think maybe a highlight, but this is more of a metal effect, and if your lights come from the top, maybe you could dodge some of that metal look. And it doesn't even have to be from a light source. It could just be to indicate that this is worn metal. So you're just using the dodge tool here. And the hotkey is O. There's also the burn tool, which is it's adding darks. But see, even adding some metal look to that. And let me close Illustrator. Was doing something with this earlier. Right. Photoshop. So that's lighting, and then the last thing is presentation. Just watch the videos on the presentation. Okay. All right. James Chin, I don't have yours. Nina, you are next. I'm just going in order. I should go backwards. Maybe I'll go forward up to Anthony and then backwards after that. Yeah, I'll do something different. All right, let's go. Let's go, Nina. Oh, Nina, you're in. You handed in 14, so that's good so far. I think your scene is great. I'm not going to go over the light maps again. I mean, I want to, but it could take a while. But you tried it, and that's good. So cleanup is great. So like, underscore D for diffuse, that would be in the texture. So it's just M underscore ceiling side. Because what if you have a normal map or a specular map? Then this underscore D for diffuse, it has to signify the texture. So just go through, if you can, just go through and remove the D, underscore D on these. Here, but if you do it here, it might crash on you. If you do it here, you'll be safer. Okay, and the textures, this is where you do the underscore D, and you got that. So D for diffuse, C for color, whatever. People go by diffuse. Which is funny because in the material itself, there is a color, but there's also diffuse, and that's just how much color is coming into the material, which people don't use that really in Maya much, unless you're doing renders. So anyway, this is clean. Here's your light map. Now you could, as far as light maps, if you really want to try this over the summer, you could just do a light map for these pieces. So just your room. So maybe you just have your room. So you have the room, you do the light map for all these, and connect all these. And then, so that you got to be careful though, because if you have props sharing with any of these, you could be in trouble. But then you do maybe for the props a different light map, and then you connect the light map to the props, the appropriate props, and then the light map that you made for the room to the appropriate room. And then you get more space out of it too. You get more texture space. Instead of cramming the whole room into the 0 to 1 space, you're cramming only a section. So remember, with the light maps, these props would all be separate in the layout. So actually, let me, if I grab these, I'm going to combine them just for now, just to show you. So if I go to the UV texture editor, and then you can see, like here's all my UVs for all those props for the albedo. And then for the UV set, I'm going to go create a new one. And this will just be light map, apply. And then we have a light map here. Okay, so I'm going to go copy map 1, which we have selected, to light map. Alright, so now we switch to light map, but in this one, we'll just do a quick layout. So we'll do that. And there's some thing wrong with the tool. So we're going to go legacy, we're going to go pre-scale none, scale mode, into region. Here, apply, there we go. Alright, maybe no scale. Whoop, yeah, no scale. Why is it not working? Into region. Shell layout. Oh, we don't want none. Into region. Okay. Cell stacking. Bounding box. Rotate. No. Oh, presets. 512. Percentage space. It's fine. Full square. I'm trying to get everything into 0 to 1 space. This is a good layout. You might just have to do it, scale it yourself. But for some reason, it doesn't want stretch to region. I don't want to do that. Although it is stretching. Uniform. Our uniform scale seems to work. Okay, there we go. So now all those pieces are in the light map. You bake that one, then you do the rooms separately too. So you have the props, and then you have the room pieces. So now you have your light map for the. You have your UVs for all your objects, and then you have a light map for all your objects. You bake those individually. You just have those selected. And then you hook everything up like we did before. Really quick. Nina, are you watching here? Are you on right now? All right. Somebody's watching. Somebody's watching. That's good. I want people to watch. All right. Okay, so cleanup looks good. Run your cleanup tools on your model. UVs, I don't think I have a problem with your UVs. You've really fixed things along the way a lot. Your textures are good. I think they're all 512. The only thing I would say about the sword, same thing I did with Darby's anchor. And Darby, actually, that's a cool scene. Like, honestly, that's not too bad. It's just technical things. Just technical. What am I doing? Students. Class. 2-1. Final. Nina. And where are we? I gotta look for your sword map, maybe? Okay, so here, you can just use the dodge tool if you want, since we're kind of baking or painting our own lighting. And just go in and maybe in your PSD file, use the dodge tool on some of these. If you want, grab like Magic Wand this, or I don't know if that's going to work. Let me take contiguous off here. So I was trying to make a selection here, or just do this. Grab this. I'm going to be a little sloppy. So, and then this way you contain it. Control H to hide it. Get the dodge tool. O is the hotkey, and maybe just sit there and kind of do that. Control H to bring the ants back. Control D to deselect. And now you have kind of a burned or dodged, lightened sword there. You could even do a levels adjustment on that. Like select all those and make an adjustment layer here. Go to levels. I mean, don't do it to the background, but you know, you get the idea. All right. Okay, and lighting I think is great. Light maps are not. See? But once you start adding too many lights, it's going to start ignoring things. So be careful. If I delete that, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could use a bounce light. But if you're not having issues with the lights you're putting in, then you probably just have just enough. This is good. I do like it. If I go flat lighting, yeah, you're missing some stuff. Use all lights. All right. Here, I mean, that shadow's caused probably by these. Wait a minute. Let's see. Is that baked into the texture? Oh, yeah, it looks like it's that. Maybe lighten these or darken these a little bit. Here's a cool thing. You go to the Windows General Editors, Attribute Spreadsheet, and with these lights selected, you should be able to go into the shape keyable and do everything at once. So this is the Attribute Spreadsheet. So I have 3 lights selected. So now I can go in and say, all right, I want each light to be 0.1 intensity. And there you go. Or let's do 0.25. You can do all at once. You can even give the color value RGB, but then you got to remember what values are what. And I don't think I can middle mouse drag on these. Yeah. But say I want more red in my color there. But you can do this all at once. There you go. And maybe the intensity is too high still, so maybe 0.15. I mean, I wouldn't go red, but you get the idea. Like the attribute spreadsheet under general editors. Okay, and this is, you could do a lot of things at once. It's awesome. You can turn on the shadows at once. You hit 1 to turn things on, 0 or 1. So that, or just turn them off at 0. Okay, and it doesn't look like it's going to recognize the shadows because we have a lot of lights in the scene. All right, now just start your presentation. All right, and then next we have Amberly. I don't think you have your file. Timothy, I don't think you have your file. Let's see. All right, so we have Megan, Prison, Darby. We already did Darby. Okay, so next in line would be Dylan, which we don't have. Ooh, Madeira. Okay, and then after Anthony, I'll go back in the list. I think it's George Zhao, but I don't think we have anything from you. All right, next, let's see. This is third. This is Anthony. I do need to go to the bathroom in a minute. Textures aren't loading. Let me see what is going on with your file. All right, let me what do we got? Anthony Madeira. Nope, that's wrong one. Can't open this file. Why can't you open this file? Oh, Anthony, did you not give me your textures? Uh-oh. Sorry guys, gotta go through and see who handed in what. I think I went with an older file when I did this. Yeah, you forgot your texture work. Yeah, see? Forgot to upload textures. And you didn't get it in. So you're probably not jumping online to check this stuff. Gotta get online. At least a couple minutes during the week. That's all you need. With that said, I guess I could look at your older... hold on. Ooh, lighting, Madeira. Nope. Wait, I gotta go to the 12? Yeah, I think I might have deleted some of these. That's why you gotta get stuff in. Right. I'm just copy pasting here. Let's see if this works. All right. Or did you give me your file somewhere else? Shoot. I don't know, because I seem to remember going over it. I don't think I loaded this one in. Sorry guys, it's kind of going on the winging it here. Instructor's office maybe. Did you email it to me? There's Nina, there's Pat, there's Anthony. There we go. 12.1, so that was the right one. Okay. That's pretty late. Let me just download this one. guys, thanks for waiting. I mean, what else are you going to do? You can fast forward if you're watching earlier. Alright, so. Ouch. Shoot. Oh, man. Sorry. I need his other file here. Because I got that one, I gotta get rid of that one. Yeah, 13.1. So I kind of had it before. Now I need the lights. Alright. It'll work. It's 7. Keyboard. Let's take shadow, lighting. Shadows are on. First thing, run the cleanup tool on your model. Make sure everything's good to go. I mean, there are some things you could have done earlier. Just the way, like these, I think you have end gods, or maybe they're split. If they're split, that's fine. Go to the outliner, clean things up, name things, remove things, make sure you're not adding the camera in your group. So wherever that camera is, I saw there's some people group the camera accidentally. Lights can be separate and outside the groups. Looks like you have some animations on there, so you can click on all these and break connection. Where are we? I might have to do that in the attribute editor itself. Here, right click, break connections, and okay. Unless I did that, I'm not sure. Hypershade. Still, these are fine, but maybe M underscore, and you want to get used to that for game engines. Bring in Unreal, Unity, M underscore. Just go through and name those a little bit better. And here too, it's like file 1, file 10. These should be T underscore whatever, T underscore whatever. Remove duplicates. If this is not attached to anything, delete it. If this is not, you have file 3 and 5, delete those. File 21, 22, 23, delete those. Go through and clean. That'll give you extra points just for cleaning. Okay? Hopefully, hopefully people are following this. All right, I'm going to get rid of this light. Now, if you turn shadows on with this light, you're going to get shadows from the floor casting into the room. Now, because we don't have a ceiling, if you rotate this a little too much, see, you're getting nothing cast into the floor below. So if you want the best results for the window, you might have to do something like that. Otherwise, it starts to look unrealistic because you're casting through a non-lit ceiling. The other thing you could do is go into Lights, Spotlight. I'm going to go into, let's go to 2-pane panel view. I'm going to go Panels, Look Through Selected, so I'm looking through my light. And let's find those windows. And kind of aim it through the window. Okay, and make sure to get back out of that camera. And we go to a 1-pane view again. Okay, let's scale this up so we see the lights. And now you can see this is not really in the way of the ceiling. I might even get a little closer. Now I'm also going to go in this light and up the penumbra, or the cone angle. And I could even cheat and bring this in a little bit. So you want to make sure that ceiling is not in there. That's the difference of not making an actual game model with the ceiling. If you want to add a ceiling in for cover, like go ahead, but you don't have to texture it, just to block the light. That's fine. And now it's a little really dark, so just take the shadows. You can do your step math, whatever you want. Increase the shadow color a little bit. This would also be reducing the opacity in the layer texture if you had one. Maybe pull that back. I don't want to see the ceiling coming through too much. I want to get that window. Let's maybe try ray shadows. If you're using depth map, you might have to increase this resolution a little bit. There's not a lot you can do in the camera viewport. You can't add a billion lights. Let's add some moonlight here. And I'm going to increase the intensity. You could even cheat a little and add maybe another light with no shadow. Or here, better yet, I'm going to create light, point light, no shadows on it. Actually, that does kind of look cool, but you need a light source to represent. Like, you have the window lighting here, but you also have the point light casting shadows. Really cool effect. Maybe reduce the shadow color, the intensity a little bit. Maybe make it orange-ish, but not like white orange. So that could be cool, but maybe lower intensity even more. I always start with the main light source and then add the other ones in between. Now this is just a light from the room. If you want a bounce light, I'm going to take shadows off and just use shadows from the window. And then I'm going to match the color I used for the sky. So whatever that was, I think this and there. So you get a little bounce light going. Maybe put this a little bit over here. Just subtle. So maybe 0.35. So if I hide that or turn that off, see, you can see the difference. Very cool. So hopefully you're watching this, Anthony. Now for this room back here, I don't want to see Maya's background. In fact, you should put a image plane back there of something. And it looks like this door too. Whatever work to your camera shot. What I did is earlier when I messed with your scene, I went in here and I did this. I inverted the normals. Actually, let's delete this face first. So delete that face. And I'm going to reverse the normals. Oh, looks like you applied something to Lambert 1. Don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, because everything I make now is going to come in with this wood texture. That's an issue. I should actually ask you guys and concur that you're watching or that you have watched this stream. Because this is going to be important to fix things for your project. Alright, so what I did is just make a little box here, and I'm going to reverse these normals so you're looking in. And then what I did, I can grab a little light for inside the room, create light, point light, with no shadows on. This is just kind of an effect. Take the shadows off. Right, take shadows off. The intensity is going to be really low. Here, and sometimes I like to make it a different color, like red, just to see how it's influencing the rest of the objects. We could turn the decay rate to maybe quadratic, and maybe intensity really high, like 10,000, although it's not high for quadratic. So I got the red light in there to show me where the light is going and what it's hitting. Actually, that's kind of cool. And then once I figure out, okay, where's that light affecting, then I'll go through and change the color. So maybe it'll be like a orangish, or maybe just a, I don't know, green light. Whatever you want, but nothing too distracting. Maybe up the intensity a little bit more. So there's light coming from in there. But see, now it's kind of getting washed out. So maybe take the bounce light down a little bit. Maybe like a 0.2. Right. So this already is working. Pretty cool. Maybe take the cone angle down a little bit. I really want to see that window coming through. And I don't mind a little vignette there. In the remember, we rotate. Here, I'm going to move it and rotate it. Oh, the window direction's not changing. Unless I do that. Yeah, there we go. I don't know. Whatever you can do to make it look pretty cool. And you can always do some post work in Photoshop, levels adjustments, all that. Alright, I'm going to save your scene for me. Okay, next would be George Zhao, but you don't have yours. And then we have Charles. So Charles, yeah, I'm not singling you out. I just ask people if they watch live streams because there's a lot of stuff I talk about. Not just you, but everybody. Sometimes I see people where I say something and it's not fixed, so I'm just wondering if they're watching. So please, people, don't take offense to things. I'm just trying to help. Let's see. Where was that? Page. Uh-oh. Where'd that go? Give me a second. Oh, you know what? Here's the link to the live stream, but I think... Where did I make all those comments? This one. There we go. Here. I'm going to target you, Charles, 4th in line. Alright. So, let's see. So yeah, I'm just trying to see if you're watching. I just want to make sure you're getting all this. As far as this stuff, make sure you put everything in one folder. It just loads up for me better. So Charles here. So all you have to do is go to images. I'm going to grab everything. Looks like you did. Where did we leave off? Okay, if the stream stopped, hopefully. Let's see. And make sure connected. So yeah, I'm just trying to see if you're watching. Okay, if the stream stopped, hopefully. Okay. So I want to make sure my stream cut out for a second. All right. So here, I think it's this scene, but we also have that. Okay, so I took that out of there. All right, let's go to Charles. See, no images. I moved everything to one folder. So here's the thing. As far as your naming, let's continue. I don't need the IFF files. You can delete those. Okay, the JPEG is all I need. Anything that goes with the Maya file is what I need. So you can delete the PSDs, save that for yourself. The TX files were probably created with Arnold if you're using Arnold for some reason. But just go through and you can delete everything but the JPEGs or anything that's not in the scene. So first thing you want to do is run the cleanup tool on your models, then name everything and then group them. So put everything in one group after you name things. Keep the lights separate, but you might want to consider naming the spotlights and all the lights. But here's the thing I mentioned with your scene, to make it even cooler. All you need is a few lights. I'm going to turn shadows on. You could use a directional light, but you're not getting transparency through this, so it's not going to work as much. Let me just hide these. So here, you're not really, it's not doing anything because the shadow of the wall is blocking, except for this little light. So I might just delete that entirely. And let's bring everything back. Display, show all. Alright. And work with one light at a time. So, by deleting that directional light, it's looking a little bit better. And don't turn, you didn't do this, but other people turn on this ambient occlusion. I would just leave that off, because you want to see it how you would in flat lighting, but since we're using real lights and not light maps, you want to make sure, I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, we're getting shadows from the lights, but we're not, if you're doing ambient occlusion, you bake it to the texture. So, anyway, yeah, so clean up, hypershade, we'll go over the lighting in a minute. Make sure, maybe this can be M underscore wall, M underscore, don't name the Lambert 1. In fact, don't hook anything to the Lambert 1, that's the default. So break that connection, right click, break connection. Don't connect anything to that. So if anything was connected to that, you're going to have to reconnect it to another Lambert. Okay, material. So M material, so M underscore wood, M underscore whatever this is. Textures 2. Wow. Yeah, you have a lot in here. So I'll go through and delete what you don't need. So you could do a file optimize scene size to help. So do that and hit OK. That should remove anything you're not using. There you go. I cleaned it. It might even clean up materials too that you're not using. Okay. So now go through T underscore glass, T underscore whatever that is, T underscore wood. Okay. Please, I'll know you watched it if I see that clean. Alright, now as far as, so UVs, you might want to get a few more props in there. I kind of like it that it's bare like this. You don't need to overuse, be overwhelming. But UVs, they're not laid out the best. So you could dedicate this whole thing to this map, but these have to be laid out a little bit better. I mean, I'm not here to talk about UV work though, because we're a little bit beyond that. You do have nice texel density, like it's all the same, and you delete those back faces. So that's good. It's just it could take up a little bit more, all right, in this area here. So if anything, I would look at like one of the larger shells. So maybe it's like this one. Let's see if I can scale everything up together. Maybe like this would be a 512 map, so maybe like that, a little tighter. I'm just kind of used to scaling UVs and knowing what to look for, so I usually get pretty close as far as how much I need. Even still, even here I messed up. But here I can like rotate that one using the rotate tools, or this, and then you can do modify orient shells, and that'll straighten it out. But see, I'm missing a little bit of space here, so I'm going to take everything and scale it back a little bit more, just to fit everything in there. All right. Now you can grab like the sides and put those in there, and we need room for these. So I don't know what those looks like that. So you would have to find a place for that. You could share these UVs on top of this one. So what you could do is grab this shell, double click that shell, go to modify, stack, snap and stack. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Let's see. How about, let's try this again. Modify, stack similar shells. There we go. There we go. You got the two sides done, and now you have a lot more room. And now you put this in here. And as far as the textures, I mean, this is kind of one base texture. You're going to want maybe put some doors in there, some texture for the doors. See, it's just all one really quick texture there. Let's take this off. You know, maybe some edge highlights, door handles, make it look like a cabinet. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you fixed the modeling. Floor might be a little bit big on the tiles, depending on what you're going for in your environment. This is fine. Like the way you UV that, because you just duplicated, that's fine. If you want to make the tiles smaller, though, they would have to do that in Photoshop. If you do this, now you run into the issue of those not lining up. So that would be a Photoshop thing if you want to reduce the scale on that. Okay, now as far as lighting, I would say, like, this is pretty cool without the directional light. And then here, uh-oh, I didn't crash, did I? Oh, no, I didn't. Ooh, okay, what did I do? I forgot what I did in your thing. I'm going to grab all these. Let's go to that window, General Editor's Attribute Spreadsheet. So I mentioned this earlier in the stream. And what's cool is you can grab all these lights together. I'm going to say I want them all to be a 0.25 intensity. They all have shadows on. After a while, though, the shadows will not respond once you have too many lights in there. Actually, let me up this a little bit, maybe a 0.35. Whoop, it's not right. Let's 0.35, maybe 0.5. Just keep going through. See, I can do all these at the same time, which is pretty cool. Now, as far as color, you got to know what your RGB is, so I might just come in here and give it orange color, but it only affects the last light you selected. So if anything, maybe keep all these white, and then this one will be in the corner and increase the intensity there. And already you have a cooler looking scene there. And the shadow here on the floor is caused by the too many light sources casting shadows. So I'm going to come in here, maybe change the shadow color a little. That's like that. This one. See? It's all affecting that square. And you don't have to have all of them cast shadows. You can just have this one, but it's a spotlight, so you're only going to get shadows from that one. Or just leave them all on. But I wouldn't add any more, because then it'll start not responding. The lights won't respond. But see, even that is a lot better. And you don't need that many props. Just a few for the scene. I think the texture should be a little bit better. Or, here is a cool idea. You can rotate this and affect the painting. Look at that. That's kind of cool. Keep the cone angle the same, I think is fine. Penumbra, soften that edge if you want. You might get some pixelation because you were using depth map shadows. So this is actually putting it on a texture map, like a light map. Increase resolution, maybe not too high. 1024 is fine. But this happens when you use in-screen camera viewport renders as opposed to rendering. Okay, when you're done, just go to show lights, turn all that off, turn all the other game elements off, turn this off, and then you're going to make a presentation sheet on a certain angle. You might need a ceiling though. Otherwise, you're going to see Maya's view. You might, it could take a few minutes to create a polyplane and then make a tiling texture in Photoshop and get a ceiling. I could do this, I could show you in like two minutes how to do this. Counting down. So here would be the ceiling. However, it's blocking the light sources. So you'd have to move these down. And then here, yeah, see, it's blocking it. Okay, so if you're not going to have a ceiling, you're going to have to find a camera view where we're not seeing it. And that might be a little difficult. Or just go in there and then Photoshop crop those out. So do a print screen in Photoshop and then do this. Like that. Okay, Charles. Here, levels adjustment. All right. Give me a minute. Next would be going backwards, fill Trasher. Alright, I'm going to go a little quicker. Pretty much just going to go through what you need to fix. So materials are good. All name good. Textures, all name good. Great. Outliner. Lights are fine. Delete what you don't need, like that one. The bake layers, just delete those. Default turtle you can't get rid of. Make sure that camera is not in the group, which it isn't, so that's good. Go through and it says app apartment, so 1P. Okay, you got all that, good. Okay, light maps, if you tried it, cool. If not, you tried, right? Too many lights in the scene in camera viewport will not start working after a while. So what I would do is delete maybe the point lights and just use an emissive. So I'm going to delete those. Yes, it gets rid of all your lights. Even here, like you could, actually you gotta find a camera view too, because the camera view is going to determine if you need to really light some of those back areas. So just work within the shot. So now the first light I gotta think, oh, okay, what's my main light? Well, I need something to light the whole room as like a bounce. Point light would be good for this. Okay, set this up somewhere where you think it'll cast the best shadows. So maybe in the bed, and then maybe reduce the intensity, maybe a linear or quadratic fall off. Let's go 100,000. A little too bright, maybe 50,000. Okay, get it away from the bed a little bit, up in the air. So that could be cool. That's a good look. If you want like a bluish, I don't know what kind of the Blade Runner, is it green? Is it orange? I can't remember. Maybe blue. Okay. Okay, and if you're gonna see this area, which I don't know if you will, maybe you can duplicate this light as a bounce and pop that over there, and then take the shadows off this one. If you have too many shadows on, the viewport won't respond as well, and then you can lower that a little bit. Now I did make an emissive map for you. So if I go into my materials and I go to incandescence and I grab a file, and you're going to name it T_emissive, and we go to Trasher, and here's the emissive. So it's just everything's black except for where the lights are, and it's kind of a bluish light for the thing on the wall, then the orangish yellowish light for this one. See? Cool. Now if I hide my lights, you can see this working. So you got a cool emissive. You know, even here you're getting this glow from the area light. You might want to consider an alpha with a glow. So if I go into here and create maybe a 128, you could even go smaller, 64 by 64. So 64 by 64 pixel area. Okay, I'm going to just, let's close this. I'm going to make a new layer, make the background black just to see what I'm doing. And then go in here and grab white. Actually, let's just fill this area right here because I don't want to go outside the border there. Okay, and then fill it with white. And I'm going to blur it, but I'm going to make sure that selection's still there. Just so when I blur it doesn't go outside the bounds of that. And let's really blur that. Okay, I'm going to lower the opacity. I have black on there just to see what's going on. I'm going to hit Control D to remove that, whatchamacallit? Lines. I want to blur these edges a little bit. But see, I don't want to go beyond the border though. And let's, you know what I should have done? Here, I'm going to Control click this, Control Shift I invert, and maybe remove some of the edging. There we go. I wonder if that'll work. Maybe make it a little brighter. I'm trying to think. You know what? I could have instead feathered my selection first. Let's try this. And fill it with white. Reduce the opacity a little bit. I'm going to throw this one out. Now I'm going to reduce the opacity of this light. There we go. And now I want to throw the black layer out, so I just have a PNG file of this light source. It's still there. and I'm going to save it a PNG so you can read the alpha. So PNG file. Alright, and I'm going to call this light source. Get rid of this. This is going to go into trashers. But call it T_light source. I'm just being quick right now. Okay, and then do that. And then we're going to go into the transparency. Let's create a polyplane. Where are you? I've been holding it. I gotta go to the bathroom. Here, let's make sure the polyplane's 1 by 1. Let's flip to normal so we see it going the right way. Actually, let's turn texture mode on so it is going the right way. Alright, so now assign a new material. Let's go to Lambert, and you're going to call it, you can call it M_light source, or whatever you want. And let's go into the color. Now, if you plug it into color, transparency will already update because it's a PNG file. There you go. Let's center the pivot. I think it's good. And now we have a light source. So now I can rotate that, pop it on the wall, here, whoop, there, pull it out a little bit, do that. And whatever, just try to match the effect you're getting from that reference. So that can be cool. You widen it a little bit. You might have to mess with some of the transparency in Photoshop to get that going better. See, right now it looks a little dull, but I think you get the idea, right? You can add like light sources behind that. So now if I hit 7, look at it. Isn't that cool? Like it's a polyplane that's imitating light. It is black though. Ooh, why is it black? Oh, it's a shadow. Shoot. Looks like it's a shadow from that piece. Alright, so here's what you can do is in the render stats, turn cast shadows off of that object. There you go. So grab the object, go to render stats, cast shadows, turn that off. That could work. As far as doing that in the game engine, I think that would nowadays do it for you. Or you have to specify. But do that throughout the scene. Okay, we have, who is that? Trasher. Fifth in line. I think you were 5th, right? 4th, 3rd. You went after Charles, yeah, so 5th. Alright, I gotta take a break for a second. Maybe I can get through all this. Who's left? So we have Pat next, Brandon, and Megan. Yeah, we have 3 left. Pat will be next. But I'm gonna take a little 5-minute, 10-minute. Let's load you up though. Oh, move. Okay, I'm gonna really quick before I go to the bathroom. I'm gonna take this off and that off. I could probably do yours really quick. Just because there's not much to say. You might not want to group the lights. Sometimes that causes issues. If it does cause issues, take those out of the group. For now, they might be okay. But look at, she has what, flat lighting? Looks like that. So I think you try light maps, but they didn't work. So this is fine. So just remember, the more lights you have, the less things are going to start working in the camera viewport. So that's working. It's just you might get unexpected results if you have too many lights in the scene. There we got the hiccups. Okay, so you could do the transparent glow I was doing with Trasher scene on a polyplane. So I don't know if you need all these. if it's not doing anything. But it seems to work. I mean, your scene is fine from what I see here. I'm just saying if it's overdone, you might not need. And since we're not using like light maps now, yeah, you could just fake the shadows in like you did before, like those polyplanes. That's perfect. Like, do we need that if we already, or do we need lights casting shadows if you have those in there? So it's like give it a balancing act. Like, what do you want to do? In games, there's not too many real-time lights. There are, but the more you add, the more expensive. So, however, you can fake it, and that's where light maps come in, and these shadows. But this is great. I think you're good on your cleanup. I don't think I've had a problem with any of this. Double check. I think this is all good. And I guess start going on your presentation. I think you're ready to go. That's a really cool scene. Very well done. Executed. All the UVs. Let me just check. I just want to make. I've never checked the ladder, but see what you did. The ladder is tiling because it's bigger than a 512 area. Very nice. Although you do have the ladder, it seems, on two separate maps. Or, oh no, I grabbed something accidentally. Never mind. Good. Yeah, Pat. I mean, I don't have anything else to say. You followed all the, what is it? You followed all the, I'm just having a brain aneurysm right now. All the descriptions, all the information. Let's see, you are 6th in line. Followed all the instructions. Alright, I do have 2 more. Brendan, you would be next, but I'm gonna take a little breather here because there's a couple I want to talk to you about and Megan, and it'll take a little longer. So I'll be back in 5 minutes. Fast forward 5 minutes from now, maybe 10 the most. I want to get an orange. I'll be back. I'm back. I was warming up my coffee too. So hopefully you guys fast forward it if you watch this. So next, we'll do Megan. Or no, Brandon. Excuse me. Alright, Brandon, let's see. You got the prison. Okay, just do a cleanup on your model. Just make sure you have no issues. The materials look fine. Here's the sampler. You can probably get rid of that if you're done with it. And then these are all good. Delete additional similar files. You can do a file optimize scene size to get rid of all this stuff. Alright, see, and it got rid of anything you're not using. Go through and name and delete. Actually, I would grab everything, delete the history just to remove any additional nodes here, turn everything on, and then name the stuff, get rid of empty group nodes. So it looks like you have, oh, you can get rid of these modular pieces here for the final. Delete those. Okay. Delete anything you're not using. So as far as lighting, well, hold on, modeling. So we got modeling. So clean up the modeling, and I'm going to be judging pretty much the stuff we went through this semester, like where you could have optimized, if you follow directions. It looks like you did pretty well. Your V's are a thing, and the textures, like, are you using them wisely, using your texture space wisely? Are you just popping on a texture and calling it a day? This is for everybody, not just you. And looks like you have an occlusion bake here, which I gotta delete the history here. Let's see what's going on. Oh, you're seeing tough. Let's try color set editor. You have AO and then you have your light, which is cool. You worked with it. I do like that. You might not need it though. Now that we're doing the in-screen lighting and light maps, I think this is just going to cause issues. And look at it's even taking forever to select. Now if see, this is already taking forever. History, let's go to mesh display, color material channel, let's see, none. I'm wondering why it's lagging so much. I mean, your poly count doesn't seem to be that high. Yeah, it's only 11,000. Sometimes you can just select all your objects, export them as an OBJ file, and then re-import to clean up the scene. Yeah, I guess right now, well, it takes forever to switch. Look, I got ambient down. I might just go ahead and delete these. I know you worked on that, and that's cool, but I'm wondering if that's even doing much or causing issues. If you're using an older version of Maya, maybe that's why it's lagging on me. Or here, I'm gonna do mesh separate. Yeah, look at how long that takes. Wow. I'm going to regroup everything. Let's regroup that. Delete the history. I might just take all these, delete them. Let's see if things select faster. Nope. I really don't know why your scene's taking forever to load. Maybe your texture files are too big. That could be it. If you're not using 512 and you're using like a 2K, that could be it. Alright, onto the lighting. Now, we're not really getting anything in here because the ceiling's blocking everything. So having a ceiling's good. But I might bring these down. Alright, so let's hide these lights. Let's see what's happening. Okay, so those lights are affecting the scene. We have a point light, which I'm just going to delete, start from scratch. We have these two, which I'll pop right here. Actually, I'll just use I'm going to deal with one right now. Always good to work with one at a time. Put that a little bit below. Let's raise the intensity a little bit, just so we can see what's going on. Cone angle down, penumbra. You could always go in here and type in higher value to get more soft shadow. So that's light's going to be right around there. Now if you put it too high, it's just you're going to lose it. Let's go shadows, depth map shadows. It's really odd though, it's going through the ceiling. It's actually working through the ceiling. It's weird. Alright, well, let's just put that in here, and I like Pat's idea, the green light. Maybe desaturated green light, like a whitish green, like in this spectrum. Okay, and then we're going to duplicate that and put that over here. Turn the wireframe on to see what's going on. Top view maybe. Frame it. Wireframe it. There we go. Maybe a little heavy on that modeling of the bulb, but steel for now. Okay. This one. Now we can turn. So one of these is not. You might want one of these to cast shadows. It doesn't look like. Oh wait. Oh, that's why it turns shadows on. That's why the ceiling wasn't affecting it. All right, there we go. Better. All right, now we need some bounce light. So we got those two in there. You can increase the intensity a little bit if you want. So you got your two main lights, and then let's create a bounce light in here. We don't want shadows on this. I mean, you could if you want, but I don't think, you just want a really subtle bounce. So I'm going to go in and choose that greenish, bluish light. Lower the intensity, like 0.2. Let's take the shadows off. You could even do, if you want a more realistic, go quadratic decay and turn this way up, like 50,000. That might still be too much. There's some, you don't want to, you want to see your texture work. You want to see your work. So you don't want to overdo don't make it too dark and don't make it too bright either. A nice bounce light. In Unreal and in game engines now, that does all the bounce lights for you. Maybe in the middle there. All right. If you want, I don't know if you want to maybe add a light in a cell. So opposite green would be red, but we don't want red light. Maybe even yellow, orange light in here. So lighting is going to make or break your scenes. You could do that with a cool shadow coming out, but remember, it's limited on the amount of shadows you can use in a scene in the camera viewport. I mean, actually, every light in real world casts shadows, but some are diffused by other ones, so we just turn them off. They could do that. Yellowish. Okay, and then you go show lights, turn those off, and you can see how that looks. I don't know. I think it's a little too much. I like the darkness of the whole jail cell here. So maybe the bounce light's too much. See? Now nothing's affecting it because... Oh wait, I turned that down. Let's go 50,000. There you go. I still think the other light back here is bright. But anyway, play with ideas. Now maybe these are too bright. Something in here is too bright. Maybe a linear fall off. See, this is what happens when you start adding other lights in the scene. They don't want to update. Alright, cool. So, your textures needs work, but once you add the lighting, it gives these cool little effects here. Alright, lastly, I believe it's lastly, is Megan. So we have Megan, Michael, and Michael, which two Michaels never showed up this semester. Alright, so I'm going to go into Photoshop here. I'm going to open Megan's file. Let's find the arcade maps, which would be maybe this one. I'm trying to find one with screens on it. Maybe these two. Let's open your scene first and see if these are connected. I'm going to save this one for my benefit. Oh, so yeah, you got to make sure those are all in the right folder, Megan. That's what it was. Because right now, nothing's going to load up, and it's going to get confused on where to look for things. So, I don't know if you sent me a new file, but you need to go through, first of all, if I look at your files, these are all named the same, 01, 02, 03, and then these are named the same. So if I take these out, and it'll copy and replace these. So you need to go in and name these. So I'll call this like floor. But I wonder if I set your project, it might help, but I don't think it will. So if I go set the project to your arcade, okay, if I set it here, select folder, and now if I reopen it, a lot of these are not going to hook up still, because it's still looking at your computer in those different folders, and I got a fatal error. Let me open that up. Last thing I need is the last person to crash here. Is anyone here watching? Any questions going on? I feel like there's people here, but no one's saying anything. Now, it probably crashed because it's trying to read from all those folders. I don't know. But it's going to take me like 15-20 minutes to figure out what's going to what. Alright. See, it's just not connecting. So if I go to my textures, hopefully this won't crash. Arcade is going to arcade wall tile. This one's going to wood tile. So none of these files are named what you have them. File 1, 10, oh, file 1 doesn't have anything. File 10 goes to score incandescence, arcade Ross, 5. I don't know which is going to what. So you need to figure that out. However, I will. Let's grab a material for the arcade. So material attributes, and that's this one. Let's go color. Let's go UV textures 3. I don't know what UV textures 3 is, but I'm assuming it's this one. So you have arcade 03 RAWs. This is what it should be connected to. Okay, a little blurry. These are 512, I assume. You could even like put one on one map, one on the other, or they could share the same. Like you could share. Here, what you could do is share UVs on both of these, except for this face, and the screen, and everything else could just be the same. but I know you want to get a variety. But these textures, like it's just a pure blue, you want, get that like coin slot in there or something. You like really go in and try to figure this out. Alright, so as far as these screens, what you can do in here, I'm going to make a new texture. See, I would have maybe put this prop on its own map, this on its own map. Let me change this to 0. Okay, so here, grab that one, grab that one. And it's funny because I have these in my basement, in my own arcade. It's awesome. Someone built for me. I never get to play it. Okay, so there and there. This will be my emissive map. You get a little bit of blue color. Arcade 03. That's what you should call it. Arcade emissive. This is what you should call it. T arcade E for emissive. Alright, we'll call it JPEG. Save. Okay. Okay. Alright, and now in here, I would delete these area lights. I know you want that glow, but the emissive will give the glow, especially in the game engine. And you're using too many lights in the scene, you probably don't need. This one might not even show up because this is inside that. So that could be an emissive. This can be removed, that can be removed, that can be removed, that can be removed. And see how the light just turned on? You have too many lights in the scene. Hopefully, Megan, you're watching this. In fact, I'm going to go in and delete all my lights and just start from scratch. Sorry, but I am. Hockey table light, I do like that. That's kind of cool. But you could do what if you go back to Phil Trasher's apartment where I add the glow texture on a polyplane. I'm going to leave those for now. I feel like it's... I'm going to delete them. Sorry. Let's go back to the texture and let's get the emissive on here. So I'm going to go to the material attributes and in the incandescence, grab the file and you're going to name that T underscore, I don't know, arcade glow or T underscore arcade E for emissive. Grab the emissive file. Let's get it. That should pop up in your scene, although that's really washing it out. What's going on? What's going on? 667 6. Do you? Let's see. Color set editor. Did you use that? Okay, no, nothing there. Mesh display. Material color channel. None. Here, I'm going to go to File, Optimize Scene Size, and let's see if this fixes anything. No. There's probably no shader on that, or there was. Here, if I go to Material Attributes, oh, there's nothing in that. Incandescence. Let's break the connection. I see what you're trying. I think you had an incandescence map that you didn't apply. Or no, it's in the other folder. Alright, let's leave that alone for now. Just look at this. See, now it's a little too bright. So you just go in Photoshop and lower that a little bit. I mean, you could do it in here. If you go to color balance and turn the color gain down, this is a cheat. But, I don't mind that. Alright, now as far as lighting, figure out your main light. I'm going to hit 7 on the keyboard. Let's take the incandescence off these, just for now. So I'm going to go incandescence, break connection. Okay. And let's start from scratch. Take the grid out, and let's get an overall light in the scene. So point light. What color do we want on arcade to look? Green? Purple? Let's do a bounce light of a little purplish. I think that's what you were going for. Figure out where this light is coming from. Is it from the top of the building? Is this an overall bounce from all the arcade machines? If it's an overall bounce, maybe take shadows, keep it off. Because if you put shadows on, it might affect your scene differently. That means it's coming from a light source from a major light in the ceiling. I mean, you could do that and then take the shadow color up and take the illumination down. Maybe go to quadratic decay, something like 10,000, maybe 100,000, maybe 70,000. Oh, that's 700,000. You might just want to take the shadows off just to get some balance. Right, and then I think that's a little too dark. 100,000, maybe even 300,000, 400,000. Whoop. 200,000, maybe 150. I don't know. You got to play with it. A lot of your lighting is just going to come from the emissive and incandescence, and you should get some nice effects. And now I'm going to go create polyplane or lights point. Maybe we'll put one in here, but I don't want it too bright. Maybe this is the one that casts the shadows. But maybe I'll go quadratic decay again. Let's go 60,000. Let's go maybe greenish lights. I don't like putting anything next to the wall. You just want to kind of suggest it. I don't know. I mean, that might be a little intense still. So maybe like 20,000. You don't even have to use the decays. It is more realistic. But remember, the more lights you add, the more it's going to start ignoring things in the camera viewport. And if you're doing a directional light or anything, remember, it takes into account the ceiling. So if you have no ceiling, it's going to look a little weird. So since you're doing an interior, I would stay away from directional lights unless you have a window. So this could work. If you change it to no decay, then this has to be really low intensity, like 0.2. But it gives you kind of a, it goes on forever. I love decays, decay rates. Gives a better quality. Alright. So even, maybe that's too much. 15,000. Maybe 5,000. Might be too dark. It's good. See? And then you just go through and be like, okay, well, is this still too bright? Is it not bright enough? Is it dark? Too dark. And then once you get your emissive on the rest of your textures, then things will start popping out more. I mean, I only really needed 2 light sources here. If you want, maybe you can grab a spotlight. But see, once you start adding all these lights, it's going to start ignoring other ones. So maybe here you have this kind of effect. Lower the intensity, penumbra. I don't know, maybe that's like a popular machine that people go through. Now, if you can build light maps, that'd be awesome. You can have as many lights as you want, and you can render it and see what it looks like in the render. So pretty much you would just render this. My software stinks. I really don't like using that, but you would have to use like Arnold render, but then other things like the lights in Arnold. But whatever you get here is what you would get in the light map. Now it looks like you have some noisy, and that's probably from the Arnold lights. Anyway, this would be the true light map, or what goes in the light map, not the camera viewport. But we use the camera viewport as a quick way to see how things look. Now for some reason the spotlight doesn't want to show. Kind of weird. So we have Arnold lighting, but here this is this is a whole another thing. So do what you can. Get your textures going back in there. Light the scene. Simple lights. That's all you need, or just a few. All right, but I gotta go. Hopefully that helped. And whoever's watching, you didn't say anything, but I'm glad you stuck around. And I will see you guys. So we have Arnold lighting.
later.
Here, this is a whole another thing. So do what you can. Get a nice